Welcome to NewsNation's Backscroll, where we look back at our major news coverage on the most important topics and personalities of our time.
Well, one unlikely topic is bringing both Democrats and Republicans together on Capitol Hill: UFOs. NewsNation has extensively covered this for you, and we've had an exclusive interview with a whistleblower, a high-ranking federal officer, who revealed that the U.S. government has a secret UFO retrieval program. Now a press conference will be held tomorrow to provide more details into the House Oversight Committee's upcoming hearing, which is scheduled for next Wednesday. Joining us now to discuss is Robert Powell, executive board member at the Scientific Coalition for UAP Studies. Robert, thank you for your time. Let's dive right in. One of the leading lawmakers heading this hearing says the public won't be disappointed. What are you hoping to see come out of this hearing?
Well, I would hope that we see strong evidence regarding the government knowledge of what's going on. And if there is a top secret SAP program which is used to investigate these unknown technologies that come supposedly from elsewhere, then it's important that we get the actual government documents that prove this. And that's going to be difficult for Congress, because a congressman can't just automatically see top secret SAP documents. So it's going to be a big job for Congress to see if they can actually get a hold of these documents.
Do you think Americans will ever see hard evidence of alien technology?
You know, in a way, Kelly, we've already seen some good evidence of alien technology. There is radar data and excellent witness data that indicates there are objects that move through our atmosphere with over 100 G-forces of strength. For example, you and I are experiencing 1 G-force as we sit here in our chairs. 100 G-forces is 100 times the force of gravity. At 3 to 4 G-forces, you will begin to pass out. At 15 to 20 G-forces, a aircraft, the structural integrity just comes apart. So to have craft that are moving through the atmosphere, accelerating and decelerating with that level of force is indicative of control by some intelligence that's well beyond us.
And so you outlined a few of these aspects here, but I did want to ask you, experts are supposed to testify at this hearing, as you know. We've heard from some of them who say that many UFO claims can be explained by unmanned aircrafts or weather phenomena. You have 28 years experience in the engineering industry. So if you were asked to testify, what attributes would you share must be present for a UFO claim to be abnormal?
I've studied this subject for over 16 years now, and the one area characteristic that I would look for is extreme acceleration, as I mentioned. That type of acceleration is something we do not have the capability now, and it does not exist in black programs. It's the type of acceleration that you would expect if someone was capable, for example, of interstellar travel. So that's what I would look for, is extreme acceleration.
And we're seeing a lot of bipartisan support around hearings, both Schumer and House Speaker McCarthy. What's been your reaction to that?
I think actually that's excellent. I mentioned that about 3 years ago in a Washington Post article, that Republicans and Democrats seem to be able to find this one topic that they can come together on. And it's a good thing to find topics that our two parties can find agreement on. So I'm very happy about that.
Yeah, maybe we'll move a little faster with some answers. We've got about 10 seconds left, but yesterday we reported on what seems to be an unidentified object that washed up on the shores in Australia. Are people genuinely becoming more interested in UFOs, do you think?
I think people definitely are becoming more interested. That particular object that washed up in Australia is probably not a spacecraft, and if it was probably part of a satellite. But nonetheless, it does gain people's interest.
Yeah, it's got a lot of us talking. All right, Robert Powell, thank you for your insight.
because it has anomalies. It moves on a trajectory that is very unusual. It is aligned with the orbit of the Earth around the Sun, and it will get extremely close to the inner planets like for example, Jupiter, Mars, or Venus. It will arrive closest to the Sun when the Earth is on the opposite side, so we won't be able to look at it. And that's the point where a spacecraft could make a maneuver to slow down. It's coming from the direction of the Milky Way galaxy, the center of the Milky Way galaxy, where the sky is very crowded with stars. So that's why it took a while to notice it. And altogether, the chance of this trajectory is less than 0.2% to be aligned with the orbit of the Earth around the Sun, less than 1 part in 20,000 to arrive so close to the other planets. And one wonders, could it be a design trajectory? And I'm not saying that we know, but I'm saying that we need to collect more data to figure out the nature of this object. And if it turns out to be a comet, if it's surrounded by a beautiful cometary tail that is glowing in the sunlight as it gets closer to the Sun, so be it. But from now on, the Rubin Observatory in Chile will discover a new interstellar object every few months. And my point is, we should check whether any of these objects might be technological in origin, because it's a security risk to Earth.
Right. How do you check that? So it's interesting you mentioned about the trail that might indicate it's a comet. What would be the signs that it's not a comet?
Well, so I suggest first establishing a scale of risk from interstellar objects, similar to the Richter scale for the risk from earthquakes. A 0 would mean that we identify a beautiful tail, and it looks just like a regular comet. We can infer the composition of the tail. It's similar to comets. A 10 would mean that the object maneuvers in ways that cannot be explained by the force of gravity, that there must be an engine in it, or it has an unusual shape, or it has artificial lights. And there should be an organization that decides whether an incoming object could be a risk, because we talk a lot about existential risks from artificial intelligence, from climate change, from an asteroid that may impact the Earth, but we don't talk at all about the possibility of alien tech. And I think we should take it into consideration, because we sent out spacecraft that would leave the solar system.
Well, let's talk about that for a second. So it is estimated to be about 12 miles long, okay? You, and correct me if I'm wrong, you want to use NASA's Juno spacecraft to intercept the path of that. It has instruments that could study it. It could change the trajectory of the orbit. Can you explain a little bit more how this would work?
Yeah, so we should take advantage of the fact that it comes so close to Jupiter. It's quite amazing. If you look at Jupiter's orbit, it just gets to the point where 3I Atlas will be on the 16th of March, 2026. And I calculated that if we give a small kick to Juno of 2.6 kilometers per second, just around the time when NASA was thinking of just sinking it into Jupiter, because it's the end of the mission. And I'm saying, instead of letting it dive into Jupiter, just kick it out, away from Jupiter. Then, with the right orientation, it will actually intercept the path of 3I Atlas. And it's an amazing opportunity for us to learn much more about this object. Because we can't launch any rocket from Earth that would intercept this object. It's moving too fast relative to Earth, in the opposite direction of the motion of Earth around the Sun.
You wrote that if this 3I Atlas is a technological artifact, it could be evidence of the dark forest hypothesis. What is that?
That's one of the solutions to Fermi's paradox, which is the question, where is everybody? And of course, it's possible that aliens are out there, but they are worried about predators, and therefore they are silent, as if they are in a dark forest. And if they see a civilization like ours, a young technological civilization that gets more powerful over time, and they are listening to us, they might send a probe or a spacecraft on a reconnaissance mission, or with some other goals. And we should be ready for that. We should monitor the sky and be aware of that potential possibility. And just ignoring it is not intelligent on our behalf.
You've actually seen what you believe may well be alien technology, an implant.
I have.
What did you see?
I saw a technical device that had been removed, excised by the Department of Veterans Affairs by a surgeon, a trained physician from a U.S. military service member who claimed to have a UAP encounter. The physician claimed that the object tried to run on him or evade being excised.
So let me get this right. This object, whatever it is, it's a constructed object. It's a technological object.
It's a technological object enveloped in some sort of biological capsule. The current theory is that that capsule is there to fool the body as not to create some sort of immune response to a foreign object.
But the physician you spoke to described that object apparently trying to intelligently avoid being captured by the human doctor.
Correct. That is what the doctor reported.
And we switch to UFOs. We hear about some whistleblower with new promises of UFO intrigue, and every time they lack even a scintilla of proof. Harvard professor, though, says a tiny pellet from a meteor might be the first real proof available. He found them where a meteor crashed into the Pacific Ocean off Papua New Guinea. Professor Avi Loeb joins us now. Professor, it's good to see you. All right, so do I have this right, that these tiny little things that are smaller than a BB, they're either from a meteor or from an alien craft?
Well, they are the molten droplets from the surface of this object when it was exposed to the extreme heat from a fireball that it generated while passing through the atmosphere. And it was detected by US government sensors back on January 8th, 2014. And we realized 5 years later that actually it was moving so fast that it must have originated from outside the solar system. The US Space Command confirmed that at the 99.999% confidence in a letter that they sent to NASA a year ago. And then we started planning for an expedition to retrieve any materials from this object, because apparently it was tougher than all space rocks that were cataloged by NASA over the past decade, 272 of them. And it was also moving faster than 95% of the stars in the vicinity of the sun. So we decided to go and check whether it's made of some artificial alloy that may explain its toughness, and perhaps it's some spacecraft from another civilization. So we went to the Pacific Ocean and we found those spherules, these metallic marbles that we saw with a microscope that are the droplets that melted off the surface of the object. And I received them by FedEx over the past week, delivered to my doorstep. I realized it may have taken millions or billions of years for that material to arrive to Earth. But now we have possession of those materials. And, you know, it's the first time that humans put their hands on the materials from an interstellar object, an object that originated from outside the solar system, bigger than 0.5 meter.
I'm trying to digest everything you said. It's the problem oftentimes with interviewing people who are so much smarter than I am, trying to actually sort of put together what this means. So these are droplets from an object that came from outside the solar system. I'm curious, why is it, and I mean this with no disrespect, but why is it that you, a professor at Harvard, is the guy finding these and it's not the U.S. government who's searching for them?
Well, the US government is concerned with national security. Okay, so they would be more interested in objects that have made in China on them. This is an object that came from interstellar space, so it's of scientific interest. The US government discovered it. The Department of Defense came to my defense in declaring it to be interstellar after we realized it. And so altogether, they're supporting my research, but I'm approaching it as a scientist. You know, this is knowledge that should be shared by all humans. Has nothing to do with national security. And, you know, it's just like going out to your backyard and looking for objects other than the rocks that you are familiar with. And every now and then you might notice an object that came from the street, such as a tennis ball that was thrown by a neighbor. That's what we did here. We noticed an object that came from outside of our backyard, the solar system, right, and it looks unusual.
Yeah, well, and I'll take your word for it, we put up the composition: 84% iron, 8% silicon, 4% magnesium, 2% titanium, 2% trace elements. There has been, over the past, say, 4 or 5 months, this drumbeat that there are UFOs and the U.S. government is hiding information about UFOs. Tim Burchett, Congressman of Tennessee, has been very outspoken on this issue. Here he is talking about, if UFOs came, that America, the U.S. military, couldn't handle it. Take a listen.
We couldn't handle it. We couldn't fight them off if we wanted to. That's why I don't think that they're a threat to us, or they would already have been.
It's one thing to say that this is a mass that came from outside our solar system. Is there anything about these things that you have located that show you that it was something that was made rather than naturally occurring?
Well, that's an excellent question. That's what we are about to answer in the coming weeks. We're analyzing the materials at Harvard. And just imagine droplets that were molten off a computer screen or of semiconductors. They would have different composition than rocks. And so we will try to figure this out.
While many are asking Congress to unseal proof of alien life to the American public, a Harvard team of researchers says they might already have some. They say microscopic debris at the bottom of the ocean floor could be from alien technology. And Harvard professor Avi Loeb led that mission to the ocean floor and joins us live now. Professor, thank you for being here.
Thanks for having me.
So, Professor, can you explain what exactly did you find at the bottom of the ocean, and why does your team think that it might be alien technology?
Well, on January 8th, 2014, a meteor was detected by U.S. government sensors, and it was moving very fast. And I realized, together with my student Amir Siraj, that it was actually faster than the escape speed from the sun, from the solar system. So it came into the solar system from outside. We called it the first interstellar meteor. It's the first object from outside the solar system that was recognized. And the government also released data on the fireball that indicated that the material strength of this object was tougher than all space rocks that were cataloged by NASA. And so that raised the possibility, since it's moving faster than 95% of all the stars in the vicinity of the sun, it may be aided by propulsion, and moreover, it may be made of some artificial alloy that makes it tougher than even iron meteorites. And this is not a philosophical question. We decided to go to the Pacific Ocean and search for any relics from this object. And amazingly enough, we found them. We found tiny millimeter-sized spherules. These are metallic marbles embedded within the volcanic ash on the ocean floor that is more than a mile deep. And we surveyed a region that is 10 kilometers in size with a sled that is only 1 meter in width. So think of it as a heroic effort to find tiny fragments from that explosion, and we found them.
And what did the metallic marbles tell you? Why do you think it's alien technology?
Well, we don't know yet, so now we are examining them with the best instruments we have at Harvard University. And soon enough, within the coming weeks, we should know the composition and the isotopes that make these marbles, and figure out whether they are natural, similar to rocks in the solar system, or something unusual, like an artificial alloy, like steel, for example.
So how, at this point, I know that, excuse me to interrupting, I know that the analysis is still ongoing, but at this point, how likely is it that you think that this is alien technology?
Oh, at this point, we don't know for sure,
okay.
But we are, at this point, what we are trying to see is whether the composition is different from rocks. Okay, that's the fundamental question. And then just think about these spherules as romantic rose petals leading us to our partner, so to speak, because they indicate the path that the meteor took, and there may be a bigger relic, the size of a meter or so, left on the ocean floor, which we are aiming to find next. So really the goal would be to find whatever big core of this object was, and then it will be obvious whether it was a rock or a spacecraft. The reason, to think about the spacecraft is if you think about Voyager, it went into interstellar space and it could collide with an exoplanet in 1 billion years, and it would appear as a meteor. And all one needs is to examine whatever is left from this first interstellar meteor to figure out whether it was artificial or natural. And, this is the first opportunity for humans to put their hands on an object that came from outside the solar system.
Okay, fascinating. And it sounds like there are so many questions yet to be answered. So I'm going to let you get back to your research, Professor, and please check back in with us when you find out more results. I would love to know the origin, the alloy, all of it, what it's composed of, and if you end up finding that big other object, we'll check back with you. Harvard Professor Avi Loeb, I appreciate you spending some time with us. Thank you.
Thank you.
Well, apparently aliens and UFOs may not be such a far-out idea after all. One Nevada company is completely built on these conspiracies and theories and is focusing in on an alleged alien technology. Our affiliate KLAS gave us a behind-the-scenes look.
Tucked somewhere in the vast Nellis Air Force complex, a private defense contractor is working on weapons tech that may or may not ever see the light of day. That same contractor has an office inside Wright-Patterson Air Base, home to the military's original UFO investigations. With 20 offices in 17 states, Radiance Technologies has quietly become a major player in developing cutting-edge weapons and systems for the Pentagon. But unlike some of its larger competitors, Radiance doesn't shy away from a topic long considered fringe or forbidden: UFOs.
If somebody had a UFO and wanted to take it apart to figure out how it worked, you'd accept that contract?
Oh, sure. Yeah, absolutely. Why not, right? I'm waiting for one of those.
Yeah.
Tim Tinsley is an engineer who spent 2 decades working on missile defense systems before he joined Radiance. Unlike behemoths such as Lockheed or Northrop, Radiance is entirely owned by its employees. Tinsley rose to become president of the company, which has its home base in Huntsville, Alabama, also known as Rocket City.
Whether we're in Las Vegas and San Antonio, Dayton, Ohio, or Huntsville, it doesn't matter. The idea there is we have a core set of values that runs through the company. So we have 105,000 square feet of facility here. So it's made up of laboratories, classified and unclassified.
But what exactly does Radiance do? There are hints on its website of exotic defense technologies such as Star Wars-like direct energy weapons, hypersonic missiles, systems to defend against cyber warfare, and who knows what else. What are they doing at Nellis Air Force Base?
I can't tell you a lot, right? But what I can tell you is that we've supported the Las Vegas community, Nellis Air Force Base, for over 20 years. And, a lot of the work we do is mostly for the Air Force, of course, but it resides in that RD-T&E, the Research Development Test and Evaluation spectrum.
As Tinsley knows, Nellis is one of the places rumored to house mysterious materials of unknown origin. The story, first reported by us more than 3 decades ago, is that a super-secret program housed in or near Nevada's Area 51 military base has been trying to reverse engineer alien technology. That story spread all over the world, but has been dismissed as mere folklore by military agencies and defense contractors. Now, however, Congress is nosing around. Key committees have received closed-door briefings alleging the rumors are true, and legislation is pending to encourage whistleblowers to step forward and tell what they know about crashed saucers. Radiance isn't able to confirm the allegations, but the company has positioned itself just in case. Months ago, it announced the hiring of a reverse engineering specialist, longtime Navy intelligence official Jay Stratton, formerly the head of the Pentagon's UAP or UFO task force. Stratton urged Radiance to hire Dr. Travis Taylor, who worked with Stratton as the chief scientist for the UAP task force. When Radiance announced the hiring of the 2 veterans of UFO research, its news releases pointedly mentioned their UFO credentials.
Not worried about it creates a perception of you as a company that is reverse engineering UFOs or something?
No, we provide customer solutions. So whatever our customers want us to work on and support them, that's what we'll do.
Astrophysicist Travis Taylor won't say what he and Stratton are working on, but made it clear what they hope to tackle.
Jay and I are working on growing the capabilities of doing reverse engineering of foreign materials and so on. And so that makes it the perfect place if we were to get something to reverse engineer. We would absolutely want to do that.
George Knapp, News Nation, Las Vegas.
Thank you for watching. Go to newsnationnow.com to find News Nation on your television provider. And don't forget to click the red subscribe button below to get more of News Nation's fact-driven, unbiased coverage.